Hi, welcome back to a wartime edition of the Megala Mukos. We're 1 week into the war with Iran. Baruch Hashem, our forces are destroying their offensive capabilities. We're having fewer and fewer missile attacks against Israel. We're seeing nisim v'niflos. Yesterday, a hospital was hit in Beersheba, a direct hit. And just hours before that, the head of the Israeli um, medical institutions had cleared that floor of all the patients, and so Baruch Hashem, there were only minor injuries. My shir today is called "We Can Do It" from Parshas Shelach, completing the last chapter of history. A lot is going on; things are changing. Fasten your seatbelts. So the spies come back. It's 10-2. Kalev and Yoshua have very positive things to say about the land. The spies agree it's a land flowing with milk and honey, but they have despaired. They had a negative attitude. They had a vested interest. It's not for us. They turned everybody's hearts against it. And Kalev stands up with incredible leadership. And by Yahas Kalev esa'am el Moshe, v'yomer, said powerful words. Alo na'aleh v'yorashnu oisa. Ki yachol nucha lo. Kalev hushed the people before Moshe and said, "Let us by all means go up. Let's make aliyah, and we shall gain possession of it, for we shall surely overcome it." Now, overcome it is a funny translation here. Vayorashnu osa, it, which is the of Eretz HaKodesh. We will drive out the enemies and inherit the land of Israel. Ki yachol nucha la, which could be translated as we can do it, but it could also be la, her, which is the aretz. The aretz is lashon shechina, and this is Klal Yisrael coming home to Eretz Yisrael to take our bride, Eretz HaKodesh. It's a yichud elyon of kuchabrichu shchinta, bring the Jewish people into the land of Israel, and many people say we can't do it. They say, forget about it. It's impossible. Our enemies are too strong. The Canaanites are too strong. The Iranians are too strong. Hezbollah, whoever it might be, they're all too strong. We can't do it. Let's nitnu rosh v'nashuv Mitzrayim. Let's go back to Egypt. Let's stay with the things we know and the historical past. And others, brave leaders, Kalev ben Yefune, Yoshua ben Nun, great leaders in our day, say, Yachol Nuchala, we can do this. And that's called Limalois Acharei Hashem. We don't know what the future holds, but we're going to follow God. We're going to walk forward bravely. And despite ambiguity, we are going to walk the walk. Torah mitzvahs, b'emunah shlema, and Bezrat Hashem is going to bring deliverance. So that's the spirit of Kalev ben Yefuna, a conqueror in this parsha. But there's much, much more going on. Let me share with you. So this week, yesterday was the 23rd of Sivan, and you say the 23rd of Sivan. Okay, so what? What's the 23rd of Sivan? So fascinatingly, it's a day mentioned explicitly in Megillas Esther. So Purim Hayom, they tell me it's not Purim today. Lo Purim Hayom. It's Purim. What is it about Purim? Well, we have a tradition called Megalgalin Schus al Yedei Yom Zakai. God brings good things on good days. And the Ramchal has Torah about it in the Derech Hashem, that on days which good things happen to Klal Yisrael, it's from the Hashbos and the upper levels, what's going on in the heavens, the Kochavim and the Mazalos on those days. So historically, each year, as those days come around, there are Hashbos, there's good things happening to each individual Jew and to Klal Yisrael as a whole. So what happened on the 23rd of Sivan that's mentioned by name in Megillas Esther? It's a long pasuk. Hold on. V'yikaru soifrei hamelech ba'esahi b'chodesh hashlishi hu chodesh Sivan b'shloisha ve'esrim bo. So there it is. The 23rd day of the third month, which is Sivan, is explicit in Megillas Esther. And what did they write? V'yikasev k'chol asher tziva Mordechai el hayudim Achashtar panim ve'apachois v'saria medinois asher mihoidu v'yad Kush, from India to Ethiopia. Sheva ve'esrim u'mea Medina, 127 provinces. Medina kichsava ve'am kilshoinoi ve'layehudim kichsavam kilshoinam. These are called the Igaro Shniois, the second set of letters that were sent out by Achashverosh, Haman is already dead. Haman was hanged on Pesach. Okay, Cholamoid Pesach, the 16th of Nisan, Haman was hanged. This is now, okay, the third month. It's two months and change later, 2 months and a week. And now Mordechai and Esther have come to Achashverosh to ask that the Jews should be allowed to defend themselves against those who plan to destroy them. So this just rings so true. It unbelievably resonates where we're holding in modern times that the Jews are rising up to defend ourselves against those who would seek to destroy us. And we're being granted permission by the Melech. The Melech, we know in Megillah Esther, whenever it doesn't say Achashverosh, it says HaMelech. So HaMelech is Melech Shel Olam Kuchabrichu. We're being granted permission from on high to defeat and destroy our enemies, those who Mevakshim Ra'asam, who seek our downfall. And this is the beginning of a new period where Rabbi Me'amei Aretz Misyahadim, people begin to fear the Jews. Nachol Pachadam Alehem. People are fearing the Jews, respecting the Jews, and people want to be Jewish and pro-Israel. A new period in the Megillah and the Geula in Persia long ago is happening at this time, this week, yesterday, on our calendar. So here I have a picture of Persian soldiers going out with their horses to deliver the good news to all the provinces all around the world. So unbelievable timing in terms of Megalgalin Zchus Ayidei Yom Zakai. On this great day mentioned in Megillah Esther, we're having great victories at this time in history. But there's more. It went around this week in social media, an idea that's actually from the Sefer Yetzirah. And so I want to remind you of world history. Shis Alfi Shnei Havi Alma. It's a Maimer, Gemara in Sanhedrin brings it, Amr of Ketina. Shis Alfi Shnei Havi Alma Bechad Charuv. The world history is 6,000 years. We're in the year 5785, as is well known. After 6,000 years, the world will be, quote, destroyed, because it'll really be a Yom Shekulo Shabbos. And the truth is, there's a 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, all the way to Elif Asiri, where it's Kulo Kodesh Lashem, Asiri Kodesh Lashem. But right now we're focusing on 5785. It says, V'nisgav Hashem levadoi bayomahu. There'll be a time when everything will sort of disintegrate into its divine root. And so it'll be Niskav Hashem levado bayomahu. The Ramban relates to this Maimer on the very first pasuk of the Torah. Bereshis bara Elohim Eis HaShamayim ve'Eis HaAretz. So I put them in bold and made them capitals. I made them larger font. The Alephs, there are 6 Alephs in the very first pasuk of the Torah. Aleph, of course, is the name of the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, like Alpha. But it is also the Hebrew word for 1,000. It's a word for chieftain. Okay, so there's a lot in the Aleph. The Aleph, of course, is Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's representative of the Shem HaKadosh. But here we're talking about the number of Alephs in the first pasuk of the Torah, which is a microcosm for all of world history, and there's 6 of them. So this is a remez that world history is going to be 6,000 years long. And we have a brisa which supports it. Tanya Kavasidur of Katina. Kishem Shashvis Mishametes Shana Achas L'Sheva Shanim. We're all familiar with Shemitah Yor, that we keep the Shemitah after 6 years. There's a 7th where there's debt cancellation and we let the land lie fallow. Kach ha'olam. So to world history. Mishamet Elef Shanim L'Shivas Alafim Shana. So there'll be 1,000-year period of letting it lie fallow. Shenemar v'niskav Hashem levado b'yomahu. V'oimer, mizmor shel Yom HaShabbos. Shabbos is me'eno lamaba. Yom HaShvi'i, the 7th holy day after 6 days of work. Yom Shekulo Shabbos. So the last 1,000 will be Kulo Shabbos. V'oimer, ki elef shanim be'einecha, ki yom esmol ki yavor. And now we have a fascinating equation that one day for God is like 1,000 years of ours. So we're going to do some math in just a minute. So we're talking now about a paradigm of world history. The Gemara explains Alpayim Tohu, Alpayim Torah, Alpayim Limois Mashiach. 2,000 years of Tohu before the Torah was given. 2,000 years of Torah Avram Avinu was 52 years old at the year 2000 of what's called Anu Munde, of years of the world since Brias HaOlam. Abraham was born in 1948, so when he was 52, it's the year 2000. That was a period of Torah, Bayis Rishon and Sheni, etc. And the last 2,000 years of world history, from the year 4000 or 5,000, from the year 5,000, from the year 4000 until the end, are years of Mashiach. And Mashiyatza Yatza Bavonosenu Arabim Od Lo Higia V'Anachnu Mitzapim Lo B'Kol Yom Sheyavo. We're waiting still for Geula Shlema. But now we're going to take a look at these 6,000 years and compare them to a very particular set of stations, or we'll call them chapters, showing that we're in the final chapter here. So how many chapters are there in this story? And in this paradigm we're discussing today, there are 28. It comes from the Ravid on Sefer Yetzirah. The 28 chapters of this world history correspond to 28 itim. We listen to Koheles once a year on Sukkot. If you ever look at the book of Ecclesiastes, I put here the birds. They made a song out of it in the 60s. Anyway, the L'chol Zman, the Eis L'kol Chefetz, Tachas HaShamayim. For everything there is a season, a time for everything under the heavens. I'll read them. And you see we have them in columns here. There's 7 in each column and 4 columns. So 4 times 7 equals 28. Eis Laledes, the Eis Lamus. Eis Ta'as, the Eis Akor Natua. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot that which is planted. Eis Haroig, the Eis Lirpoi. Eis Lifroitz, the Eis Livnois. A time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break forth, a time to build. Eis livkois ve'eis lischoik, eis foid ve'eis rekoid. A time to cry, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance. Eis lahashlich havanim, eis knois havanim, eis lachavoik ve'eis lirchoik mechabek. A time to gather stones, a time to scatter stones, a time to gather stones, a time to hug, a time to distance oneself from hugging. Eis levakesh ve'eis la'abed. Eis lishmor ve'eis lahashlich. A time to seek, a time to lose, a time to guard, a time to send forth. Eis likroya ve'eis litfor. Eis lachashois ve'eis ledaber. A time to tear, kriya, a time to sow, a time to be silent, a time to speak. Eis leho ve'eis lisno. Eis milchama ve'eis shalom. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. So of these 28 itim, these periods, the Ravid says they correspond to human history in this way. And so if we take the 6,000 years of world history and we divide by 28, we get that each period is 214 and change, okay? So do the math. 6,000 years minus 214 puts us in 5785 at some point in the year, okay, which is this year, of course. So we're now entering this last chapter, and the ones who did the math and took the remainder and multiplied the decimal times the number of days in a year, which is 365 and a quarter and change of a few halakim, it comes out again to the same time this week in June. So we're now in these days beginning a new chapter of world history, the 28th chapter. And that chapter, the Vilna Gaon says, is called Eis Shalom. Okay? So we're entering a time of peace. So that's unbelievable. That we're right now in an existential war, destroying the capabilities of our enemies to harm us. And although we are suffering some casualties, but we are doing important work to establish a Jewish kingdom here from here on in, from here till eternity, without our enemies being able to hurt us. We're ushering in an Eis Shalom. I want to share that the Ravid himself on Sefer Yetzirah, he has it a little bit different. There's Machlekes and Meforshim, and he has it that the last Eis is corresponding to Memshala, which is also highly significant. Memshala is a government, Malchus. And so we're talking about ushering in a period of Zimois Mashiach, where there's going to be Yad Yisrael Lamala. The Jewish people will have power We don't seek power, world domination. We seek to be pnuyim, lasek b'Torah, v'laharbois chochma, to have the opportunity to learn Torah and peace, to accumulate wisdom and share it with others, and to enjoy the fruits of peace. So we're entering a shalom, a time of memshala, at the end of the 6,000 years. And just in case you're worried, I only have 214 years left. If you're planning on living a really long life, I wanted to share one more Marimakom from Rabbeinu Bechaya, which I got to see today. And he has the very last pasuk in Sefer Yechezkel is talking about Bayit Shlishi and Lasilavo, and it ends with the number 18,000, which is a very high number for the Tanakh to use. So let me show you the Rabbeinu Bechaya. V'im kein yischayev, she'ekol ha'metzius kuloi, batel v'ne'edar. The whole world will cease to exist. Ve'achar hayovel, yischadesh ha'metzius kulo. And then, after this great universal yovel, okay, the Jubilee year after 50 years, so everything will cease to exist, and then it will come back around. It's a cycle, okay? Ki yachzuru ha'eser kabatchila, lizgalois me'ein soif. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will renew the entire Bria from the Ein Sof. V'tachzor ha'amshacha b'elyoinim u'v'shvelim mimekedem. As it were, he'll recreate the world from nothingness on high and below. V'chein miyoivel leyoivel ad yud ches elef yoivlin. How many times will Hashem run this cycle of creation and running its course until it decomposes, it self-destructs, and then it'll be renewed? It says here 18,000 yoivels, okay? But it gets better. There's someone called Rabbi Yitzchak of Akko. He's a Talmud of the Ramban, like Rabbeinu Bechaya, and he says that the yovel we're talking about here is not 50 years, but it's yoimo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's 5,000. No, excuse me, it's 50,000. 50,000 times 18,000 yovelin that Rabbeinu Bechaya mentions is 900 million. Okay? So if you were afraid you were going to outlast the world, we have here a Rishon Rabbeinu Bechaya, his Perush on the Chumash, is Miramis to a world cycle, the age of the universe. Rabbi Kaplan has other cheshbonis that reach 15 billion, but this cheshbon reaches 900 million in a cycle of Yoivlin, 18,000 Yoivlin. So, as I said, fasten your seatbelt. We have a long way to go, but we're starting a period which is a shalom, which is a period of memshala. And what you got to do is lemalois achrei Hashem. Be there for God. Walk the walk. Torah mitzvahs, emuna. Give thanks for the miracles. Be mevakesh ala asid. Yikein bezrat Hashem nizkeh legeula shlema. Thank you for being here. Surot tovot, yeshuot v'nechamot.